The Fra Mauro map from 1450 is unique, being drawn in manuscript. So it's particularly wonderful to have at the British Library a copy made in 1804, but copied so carefully from the original. The buildings and the various cities which populate the area of Asia are done and drawn with such care, using such bright colours, gold leaf, that they literally leap out of the page at you.
The map appears to be upside down. Well, we assume that the world has to be north-facing. There's no actual reason why the world should face in a particular region. It's worth remembering that the word orientation comes from the Latin word oriens, which means east, and clearly stem from the days when maps faced east. For Fra Mauro, it was natural to orientate his map with south at the top, even though it looks very, very odd to us.
It blends the medieval knowledge of the world with an entirely modern approach. Fra Mauro was very keen to put on his map only what had been proven to be in existence, or based on authoritative sources. It's in this respect very different from earlier maps, which blended religion and myth and legend. Fra Mauro is doing something very different. He's questioning these sources, and he actually writes on the map where he disagrees with earlier sources or where he thinks they might be improved.
One of the important things about Fra Mauro is that he was really, really trying to get at what he conceived to be the truth. And in this he was rather different from his predecessors. He's questioning all the time, and he produces a map which is in many respects radically new. For instance, he speculates that Africa is a continent which is not connected with Southern Asia. This is something that nobody had actually put on the map beforehand. And people have said that this questioning attitude is something that you would associate with the 16th and 17th and 18th centuries. It's, if you like, a more enlightened attitude.
One thing that is very different about Fra Mauro's map to earlier maps is that there aren't any illustrations of figures or religious events. For example, for Mount Ararat, you don't see Noah's Ark on the top of it as you do with many earlier medieval maps. Fra Mauro expresses this information purely in word form. The map is covered with passages of text, and they're almost taking the form of the map maker speaking to us. Through these words, he discusses what is different or where he disagrees, and this is basically what the map is and what the text on the map says. It's a constant dialogue between the map maker and the viewer.
When Fra Mauro was commissioned to make his map of the world, he knew that it was also supposed to make propaganda for Venice. And the way that he made propaganda for Venice was basically by filling most of Asia with references to the accounts of Marco Polo, who was Venetian. So indirectly, Venice was associated with the whole of Asia. But in his pursuit of honesty and truth, it meant also that geographically, Fra Mauro couldn't exaggerate. So Venice was very small. Venice was as it is. And the story goes that after he had completed the map, the Doge came along and asked to see it. And the Doge looked at it. And Fra Mauro could see that he wasn't particularly happy. So he said, is there anything that's wrong? And the Doge said, well, Venice is rather small, isn't it? Fra Mauro said, well, unfortunately, that's the way it is. No, said the Doge, it isn't. You must make the world smaller and Venice bigger.